Hello, everyone. Good morning. We are so happy to be with you. And we're going to put a little video on right now. Here we go. Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason from Mason Works Marketing here on Conscious Business Zone with my new friend, Claudia Edge. Hi, Claudia. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, I can't wait to hear your story and to learn more about everything because Claudia is a part of a event that's coming up in September for the near-death experiencers from IANDS, which is IANDS, which stands for International Association for Near-Death Studies. And so I was introduced to her by Jackie Arnold because she's one of the speakers. And I can't wait to hear her story. We just met, so I'm new, just like everybody in the audience. And I know that this kind of information is going to help everybody. So Claudia, okay, so you have written several books so far about your experiences. Where would you like to start? Would you like to take us through you were normal and then you
Before I became happy normal.
oh well, listen, you have all these kids, how normal can you be?
Exactly.
Well, anyway, honestly, wherever you would like to start, I'm just delighted to know you and to get to meet you.
Awesome. Well, first of all, as I was watching your intro video, certain words, just the way they're spelled, the way they're spoken, we should be careful with our words. You know, they are a reflection of us, and as we carry the light within us. So I try to be purposeful with my words. So sometimes I have to stop and dig deep to find the one I'm looking for as I get older. But I appreciated your intro because it was very meaningful.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Well, this is about expanding consciousness. That's what I see. Everything you've done, your experience that you've had, and how you walk this path in the world is about how to be a conscious being full of love and kindness. And that's a guide for all of us.
Yeah. Well, my life really changed at about the age of 31. I was giving birth to my last child and I died. It was 1984 and I bled out. It was an emergency. Everything had gone, the pregnancy had gone well, but I went to the hospital with an intuition that something was not quite right, to be checked. And they took a while, just had me kind of wanting to walk around the hospital and whatnot, but my instinct was to stay close. And after I had sat down in a wheelchair near an elevator, after being told to walk around the hospital to see if we couldn't get some contractions going, I sat down and then I told my husband, we need to go back. Something is not quite right. I wasn't in any pain, but I was lightheaded, and went back to the nurse's station. And she said, you know, you've had 4 healthy children and no complications, and so we know you'll probably deliver a baby tonight, and so we'll admit you. And as I was putting the gown on, I started to bleed. I saw a few drops, and then it became a bucket of blood, just dropped, splattered walls, floor. The poor nurse standing in front of me, and the look on her face, and the guttural noises that were, of fear. You make these sounds that are, you have no idea what it's. When I think back on it, of some of the noises, I know I was probably scaring her as she was scaring me with her face, and they were trying to find someone to help me, and I was basically told I had 2 minutes of blood left. It was coming so quickly. This was only moments into the dressing room, and my husband was outside of the waiting room filling out paperwork and, driver's license and all of that stuff. So he had no idea what was happening
Oh my God.
right away. And to know that, when someone it was Dr. Valentine, as part of the IANS group, and I heard her say one time, and it was so profound. It's like, it's different when you think you're going to die, or something makes you think, oh, I could die from this, to have someone say, you're dying.
Right, right.
And it's kind of like the thought provoking. I just observed everything and tried to remember everything as the room became dark, and the ceiling lifted, and the walls became fluid and started to come towards me. And I realized that this is, I think, the tunnel that they're talking about, because I had studied near death experiences
Oh.
before. I lost my dad, and who knows what topic we're going to end up with today. But it seems like I do draw a lot from the passing of my father when I was 16. He just meant everything to me, and I've missed him every day for all of these years.
Wow.
I'm 68 now. Not a day goes by that I don't wish for his company,
Yeah.
And so I as I went through this tunnel, I kind of expected to see my dad,
Yeah.
that he was going to come and take me with him into the afterlife. But it didn't happen. I ended up it was absolute perfection, but it was black. It was alive. It was conscious.
Wow.
It was everything and nothing all at the same time. I couldn't see anything. I've been asked, did I have a body? If I did, I sure couldn't see it. But I was completely me. There was nothing that had changed in my thoughts or who I was or anything. I knew I was loved in this space.
Oh.
I knew that I was being cradled and adored and taken care of, and the 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 emotion of it, the love that it emitted and filled me with, was I was so satisfied I could have stayed there forever. And I'm sh- I I'm not sure how long my death was. I knew that I had died because the hospital kept coming into the room, representatives of the hospital. It was a progressive hospital, and they wanted to know about what I probably saw, heard, felt when I died, and I just didn't have the words for what had happened to me. It was um, so different than any of the NDE accounts that I had ever read or studied before. Where was my dad? Where was the beautiful garden or the beautiful streams? The life stream and tree of life, and all of the things, or meeting Jesus, or just having those memorable conversations and learning from the other side that so many people get to bring back.
Right.
And I laid there, and I laid there a long time because I had bled out. I was as gray, they call it morgue gray. And so for him to have been able to save me, and they had cut me, or they'd held me down and then cut the baby out. She had drowned in my womb
Oh.
in blood. But they were eventually they were able to revive her too. So there's a happy ending. She's perfect. And so sometimes I forget to tell the audience, and they're wondering what happened to my beautiful little baby daughter, but she's wonderful. But when they would ask me these questions, and they'd come in and say, how's our pioneer woman? Because I went through this surgery, emergency C-section. They cut me from stem to stern and then proceeded to pull out my intestines and everything out without any kind of anesthesia.
Oh my God.
Or even an aspirin, no oxygen, nothing. And I had laid there in this pain, just wishing to just faint. I kept telling myself, just faint already, and you'll be out of it. The pain was so intense that eventually I did pop out of my body and had this experience that I consider so sacred, this beautiful, vast nothingness and everything all at the same time. And so when I came to my body and started to think, why didn't I see anything or hear anything? What did I bring anything back with me other than just knowing that there was something more, that when I died, I would be me, and I would be the same with my same thoughts and everything. So there wasn't a fear of dying. No, that was a learning thing, because I knew that you really don't die, and you don't, you change, you take off your outfit. The body is kind of, our living overalls, to come and experience Earth. But when we're done, we shed these overalls, and we go on with as being our same self on the other side. So that was, I guess that's what I brought back in the early days. And so, but rather than subject my beautiful experience to a possible negative, because it was dark, I didn't, how, it's, you go to the light, or you go to the dark, or you go to heaven, or you go to hell, or all of that stuff. And I went, well, that couldn't have been hell. There was nothing in Sunday school that could make you feel like that in that darkness. So I was really confused. I had 4 other children, now bringing a new baby home, and I let it go. I other than the knowing that things were going to be fine when I died, or anyone else that died, I knew my father must be in a very good and safe and wonderful place, and I let it go. But, when something profound like that happens to you, it starts creeping back up, right? You can push it down, but it bubbles up. And it was doing that for me, but it took just about 30 years. I had went through a divorce. I raised my children. I remarried. There was a lot happening in my life that I think was a purposeful waiting period for me to be ready. Because, as we were talking earlier, in this service and that we do, I don't think that I would have been as good of a representative of the light as I try to be right now. It's taken me over, this need to communicate what I have learned and what I know. And funny way how it's been happening. It's been about the last 12 years out of these 30 that I've started to have really prophetic dreams and visions, and the gifts that you hear other near-death experiencers come back with immediately. For me, they're coming in slowly, but really purposeful. And they actually, in my dreams, and I trust my dreams. I've worked for years writing and journaling what I do dream, exactly how. I don't put opinion or what it means. I just write what I was given. And I can tell the difference between, I used to call them movie dreams, because they were so they were so real and vivid. You remembered everything, walking into a door and there was this, a cigarette holder or something by the door, and things that you just would not normally notice became really just profound in these dreams. So I'd get up and go, oh, I had another movie dream, and I'd write that down, because you know how some of them you wake up and they're like sound, they're gone. These are not gone. And they would be labeled where I could see like a billboard as they were starting, and it would say, like, tonight's lesson is, is layering or description or oneness of the whole, or the entirety, WHOLE. And so I would write that down, and they came in story form. I'm a storyteller. My husband's like, oh, do I need the whole story? Just give me the facts, man.
Oh.
But it's like I want to tell what led it up to it, and tell the whole story when I talk. So forgive me if I'm long-winded, but this is how my dreams come. They come in a story, and it is labeled a metaphor or a parable, that it's not exactly the way it is on the other side, but it's a teachable tool to help us understand. Because here in this life, I mean, our capability of, our wonderful brains and whatnot, our thoughts and everything. But if we were to receive the entirety of the spiritual picture, I think our heads would explode. We just couldn't take it. And so I've been given pieces of this, of my experience. And I think that, I know I've been told that it was withheld. It was safe. It's been safely stored for me. And as I get more and more memory of the experience. So if you're one of those, and now there are a number that are coming, kind of out of the closet, so to speak, saying, oh, I experienced that darkness. And there's a lot more of us that have experienced than ever talked about it before. And probably for the same reason that I didn't talk about it. I didn't get it. I didn't want someone to think I was bad, or something, that I had gone someplace, and to take, because it's a cherished memory. It's sacred to me. And I did not want anybody to spoil it. So
I had a spiritually transformative experience 16 years ago, and it was black.
You did?
But then the God, source, universe, energy came in, and that had light, and it looked like a river, kind of, with all these different colors in it. And then I was a tributary off the river.
I love it.
And but I see that every single day. So I imagine, whether or not you wanted to talk about it or not, there's been 30 years of you experiencing it, and not with a yearning, but with a knowing that that's accessible to you, if you can hold it, if you can be it. Is that correct?
Oh, definitely. And like you were saying, that yearning, because now that I remember it and can experience it almost on a daily or nightly basis, I can kind of pull myself into that. That's my meditation type thing. I use it before I go to sleep, with fingers crossed and everything else, that I may pull up another one of those dreams, because they were coming almost nightly for the longest time. They've slowed down a little bit, but I've been told it's because I need to focus on what I've already shared before I get new material. So it's kind of like, okay, I'll tell it, I'll write it. I've written 2 books about the lessons and stories from the other side, from my dream journals. Those are, and I'll just hold it up here. This is my
Oh, great. Thank you.
gifts from the edge. Let's see.
Okay, there we go. There we go.
Gifts
Perfect.
from the edge, and
Which is so perfect that your last name is Edge.
yeah,
It's so perfect.
this one. Sorry, I'm not used to the mirror effect here. And then this is such, well, the other 2 are my babies. They're me. They're my experience. They're my lessons, my sharing. This book, We Touched Heaven, is I got this, and they come to me in the tub. It's the craziest thing, but maybe it's because it's quiet. The water is warm. I put lavender in the bath water and bubbles, and I relax.
Okay.
And it's amazing what comes in during those times. It told me to write the second book when I thought, oh my goodness, the first one was hard enough. Are you kidding me? And to this third one, where I said 3, what, are you, kidding me, really? Yeah.
What else you want?
Yeah.
Oh, well.
But there was a purpose to it, because I, for years, have collected stories that just impressed me. I'll print them off and put them in a little file to just reread again sometime. And Facebook has been a wonderful tool with these spiritual groups, because there are so many talented, wonderful people and writers and whatnot. And I just started writing names down. To what avail, I had no idea. Now here in the tub, I'm being told there's another book. And I went, oh, you're kidding me. And it was like, wait, don't freak out. It's like, this one is going to be other stories. And I still get goosies, because it was a kind of a relief. It was like, I get to share what touched me, or people who have touched me. And so I got out of the tub, got dressed, and started putting feelers out for collecting more stories, or if you want to be involved in this book and whatnot. I've had so many wonderful people, jump in and want to help. And Reverend Bill McDonald, my goodness, what a wonderful helper. And I call her just Lilia, just special people who just found it within their heart to send me people. And even Reverend Bill, I give him credit for the title. We Touched Heaven. He says, make it 3 words and make it, and we came up with that together. And as soon as we said it, we both knew that was to be the title. So we were both directed by the light for this book. And I got a nod from Raymond Moody, who reviewed it and said it was terrific. So I'm super proud of it. It's got some wonderful people from IONS and from all over the world. It's an international collection of stories from Australia, Canada, India, Africa, and many throughout the United States. So,
well, these stories can teach, and that's what's so exciting about it, is that not only does it give you language for mystical experiences, which every human can have. The idea is that maybe you've had stuff and you didn't know how to explain it, or you're afraid to talk about it. That's what I find a lot of the people that have had either spiritual experiences or near-death experiences, they didn't, especially when you had that 30 years ago, that was unusual that the hospital encouraged you to think about it, because most of the time people clam up because they're afraid. Either they think maybe it was medication, which you didn't have in that case,
right.
but some people will think, oh, it's the medicine. It was, I imagined it. And then when you get a bunch of people together that start comparing notes, it is so amazing to feel. First of all, there's no competition. The group of near-death experiencers are some of the most beautiful people I've ever met.
Oh, yeah.
And so it isn't like there's a ego. That's what
Mhm.
I think the biggest thing that you see is very few people that I've met over the years of doing this have in ego. Most of them want to share their story, and they're still processing and learning from everyone else too. It's not like you're done because you came back for a reason.
Right, which is why your program is so important. You know, we're reaching out to an unknown audience right now, but
Right.
we're if you're listening, it's like we are reaching out to you. You found your tribe, you know? We find each other, and, as Kathy and I were as we were beginning the program talking about being different, and we know we're different. We know we're weird. We don't care. And we know that there is a wonderful group of people out here who love us and that we love right back, and we share. I'll use the word the light. You know, it's right here. We all are special. We all have talents. The the group at Ions or anyone else in these that have been blessed with knowings or abilities or gifts are not more special than you
Right.
are,
Right.
right?
Right.
That you can hone in and you can work on. And I'm still working. I'm a terrible meditator. You know, I've got two little 5-year-old twins that are running around the house, and it's the last thing I think of to try and find a space that's quiet and that until I'm laying in bed and going, okay, you know, hope that, you know, I get something. And that's about as close to meditation as I've come. But it's my one arena that I've worked on for a really long time in dream, you know?
Well, I'd like to ask you a couple questions because I haven't gotten to read your book yet, but any of them yet. But I will.
It's
Uh,
all right.
do you feel like there were specific lessons that, especially when you wrote your first book, you probably really had to grow through it. Most of the people that I work with when we publish books, their first book is like their baby. And
Mhm.
they have to process their story. It's not just telling your story from where that's still raw. You actually tell your story and heal it as you're doing. Have you found that to be true? And could you share anything about that?
You bet. My first book did not, other than a little hint that I'd even had a near-death experience,
Oh,
was the smallest couple of lines in the book. I didn't share my experience. It was still too raw. But what I shared was the beginning of, I guess, my awakening, my getting these wonderful dreams, my learning of more of my spirit guide and the connection, and that I could focus and bring it all in and write about it. And behind me I've got, you know, a library. Well, it's on the side is the library that is filled with my journals, my dream journals, because I was really adamant about writing what I had collected throughout the evening. And so yeah, I grew so much. The stories are will don't change. There's not much that I could change. It's written in story form.
okay.
It's written in chapters like service, and then there's a number of stories that support service or forgiveness or other things. So that, but they're easy reads because you can read for 10 minutes and get a wonderful story and put it down. And I mean, you can take a year to read it if you spend 10 minutes a night. So my second book is very much that way, except for I stepped off the cliff I'm standing on in the first book. It's like, you know what? It's time to step off and just trust. And I got the words in Dream, huge magic marker, black magic marker that said trust. And I keep it here in my office. It's facing me now. Is, you know, just put it out there, and those who are looking for it to be able to find it. So my second book starts out with my near-death experience, and I call it Into the Darkness. but I also give a synopsis of the 10 things I learned when I died. And
Oh, wow.
it's quick and powerful. It's only like 5 pages long, but it's kind of like it's this, it's this, it's this. This is my knowing, my experience. And then the rest of the book are lessons that I've been sent in dreams that support those messages.
Wow.
So I consider, well, my husband, he read the first couple of pages and he's not a proponent of my books. I have to say, he's like, what? More money, more time, everything else. But he read the first few pages in this and he said, this is powerful. So I am evolving, in my as I get
Your fan base.
confidence,
If you can get him in your fan base, you got this. Well, yeah, I think it's really fascinating how many really highly spiritual people are married to people that aren't. It's almost like so you can go way out and they'll hold your feet. That's what Kimberly Clark Sharp or Sharp Clark, I always say it wrong. Anyway, she says that about that her husband's there to anchor her.
Well, I think mine was placed there to test my resolve.
Oh,
Because I love him to pieces, but my first book, even as it was coming out and people were reading it and complimenting me, it wasn't your book, it was that damn book, because it was, it interrupted family and whatnot. And little did either of us know of the path, how the path would grow wider and deeper. And I'm living my purpose now. And I say it, just grateful to have found it, and I'm grateful to be on this path. And I'm sorry, guys, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to, I'm going to talk about it, write about it. I'll be on,
don't be sorry. We're grateful. We're grateful because the more that people can articulate what their experience is and make it okay for other people to explain their experience or have ways to. I didn't have words. I still don't have words. It was all feeling. A lot of my life is all feeling. And I'll find myself lots of times going, I don't have words for this, but this is what I see. So I want you to know Jackie Arnold is on.
Oh, hi, Jackie.
The sacred vastness reported by many experiencers and deep meditations. Claudia is so helpful. And then she said 10 things is profound.
Oh, awesome. I believe Ian's put that up in their section. I'm not sure what, but a couple of years ago, they featured that. And I was so honored.
That is so cool. Well, you can see that this whole family of people that have had near-death experiences are open arm and welcome others to take the journey to express the beauty, because it's like the good news department compared to the bad news department that's on the TV or on the radio, where only the stuff that you should be terribly afraid of happens.
Oh yeah,
we
would be very afraid. Yeah.
Well, that's what last year's virtual conference for IONS focused on. You're never alone. You don't die alone. You're never alone, which was a terrible start to the whole lockdown, when people might lose their family members who were in the hospital and they couldn't go visit them. That whole idea of, hey, if you realized how much support you have in the unseen, and the possibility for you to embody more of your soul here, you wouldn't be afraid.
Exactly. And I wanted to point out of the IONS convention that will be coming this September.
Uh-huh.
The first one I attended, unfortunately, we're still in COVID and whatnot, and so it will be on Zoom again. But I was amazed last year was the first attempt at doing this on Zoom, and I was one of the speakers then, and so honored to be asked again. So I thank IONS very much for the platform. But my first IONS meeting, and I'm speaking to you that are thinking about finding your tribe and whatnot, and how important this conference is to be able to see so many wonderful speakers and stories and experiences all in one place. My first experience was live, and so I got the hugs and the affirmations. It helped. It helped. I still wrote a book without talking about my NDE, but it helped me propel me into more confidence and knowing that there were others like me out there, and that you can find each other and lift each other up and support each other. So we do have our support from the other side. I feel it around me.
Yeah.
But I also to sit here and look at your face, Kathy, and know that Jackie's in the background, and and people, friends and other followers are saying, "Atta girl."
Yep.
It means everything. It really does.
Well, I think all of us have this if we'll
Mhm.
allow ourselves to have it. And the idea is that by putting good information in, by reading good information, listening to these amazing beings, so many of these people got superpowers
Mm.
after they had their near death. It wasn't just that they got to feel that unbelievable love. They got to learn about forgiveness, about all these other aspects that this construct that we're in, this program or whatever you want to call it, that we're in, isn't real. And
Mhm.
so the religions have, and I'm not against religion. I just
Mhm.
think that the paradigm is keeping us small. Whereas when you hear about these experiences and you hear about these people get superpowers, and I mean, some of these people, it's almost like they I don't know that they sleep the stuff that
Mhm.
they do so much, um, and and are always giving for others. There's so much kindness and generosity
Mhm.
in this group. Don't you agree?
Oh, if you're missing kindness and generosity, join one of these groups because it just oozes love, and you feel it.
Well,
Um,
it's a perspective. See, that's what I'm hoping that a lot of the people in our audience are small business owners, and they
mm,
spend a lot of their time, if they're servant leaders, they're taking care of their employees and contractors as much as they're taking care of
mhm.
their customers. And so they don't have the time to find the good stuff. That's why I bring people on here so that they don't have to search. They can just
Yeah,
watch this and
yeah.
go, there it is. There's my teacher. There's the next book I want to read. There's the next story there's the next conference that I want to feel.
Mhm.
I want to be uplifted and be put the energy of love in my environment.
As people begin, and how wonderful in these days, in these times, that it is very accessible. This is unusual to come on a computer and have two live people, giving their hearts and their time and everything to kind of to raise you up, right? It's writing books, writing
Yes.
podcasts and radio shows and whatnot. And if you allow yourself to experience even one a week, that might answer or get you just to kind of think, because as you say, it's not about a religion thing. I have nothing against religion. Um, it's a gathering place. It's community. It's your neighbors, and I don't find fault in religion. It's not as comfortable as just letting myself explore and and hear, not be afraid of something different that I might hear. I might not incorporate it. I might not take it on as a belief or anything, but if I listen with an open mind and open heart, sometimes things go, that makes sense.
Yes.
And
A
as you
lot.
listen, you know, and we say open heart, open mind, because it might let a little bit of the dogma or whatnot out as something new comes in.
Well, the thing is, it's interesting. You and I had the fact that we lost our fathers fairly young
Mhm.
in common. And I started reading, I didn't read a lot of near death, but I read a lot about reincarnation. A lot. I
Mm.
just sort of went, okay, people, my father was the youngest of 8, and only one of them made it to like 70 something. They all
Mm.
um,
Sounds
50s.
like my family. Yeah.
And so it was just like Aunt so and so's going and Uncle so and so's going, and it was so curious. It was curious to me. So
Mhm.
I started reading that, but I didn't find the near death stuff it until not that long ago. I would say probably 10 years ago. And then once you start going into it, it's like I want to know more.
Yeah.
I want I want to see the world through these people's eyes, not because I'm afraid of it. It's because I
Mhm.
want to bring that here. Do you agree? Is it because you started reading stuff about near death before you had your near death experience?
Exactly. Raymond Moody was one of the first that I read, and for
Wow.
him to review this book, I tell you, I'm still Twitter pated and happy dancing. You know that he gave me that beautiful nod and called my work terrific. I just, it's still to this day I'm so lifted by
Oh,
Dr. Raymond Moody. But you know, we were talking about fathers and religion, and I had some place I wanted to take you, and I've kind of fallen off a cliff here. But yeah, I spent years looking for answers that I couldn't get in my religion. I questioned everything, and the answer of just have faith and it'll all work out in the end, or they'll figure that out on the other side, or whatever. I was kind of like, why can't we have some answers now? You know, we can process some of it. And one of the dreams that I had was the billboard on it was called, you know, layering and description, because you know it's like, why don't we see God, or why doesn't God present himself, or you know, why are we here attempting to be perfect? We come from perfect, we come from perfection. You know, we're here to experience and whatnot. And as this lesson unfolded in dream of layering and description, you know, I had it's kind of like, go ahead, ask the big question. Well, the big question for most of us is, as we think, is like, why are we here? You know, what is our purpose? And so this dream came about that I was in a classroom setting, and I knew there were others around me, but I didn't see them. I was focused on my attention on what I was learning, and I was asked to describe a pillow. So, and they have such a sense of humor, honestly. There was a time I grew up in. I was born in '53, so '50s and '60s were my era, and there was a fabric that a lot of homes used as a decorator pillow on their couches, and they were kind of ugly, really, but it was like a translucent brown. It had some kind of luminosity to it, but it was mostly light brown, and it had little pink dots on it that were like a velvet. And boy, it was it was this pillow on these couches. And I remember one of my friends had one, and I was just like, that's an ugly pillow. So here it is, so many years later, right? In a dream, they're using this pillow that I, had collected in my memories, and said, describe this pillow. Well, I started to say, well, it's brown. It's kind of just like I just described it. And it was like, no, describe this pillow as if you'd never seen fabric before, or try to talk about color. And,
Wow.
I started to say, well, it's kind of like an onion, the translucency, how it pulls up into the top, that kind of brown um, luminescence of an onion. And he's like, okay, we'll keep going. And I was like, well, what do you mean? And he says, think about if you were on the phone to Jesse. Jesse is my son, my oldest son. And he's one that I can talk a lot spiritually with. And he says, pretend like you're on the phone with Jesse and try to explain this pillow without using the word pillow, or not even knowing what this round thing was. And it became really difficult to, in earth words, to describe, to describe this indescribable color and whatnot. And he said, okay, you used onion. Now talk about an onion and its layers and its pungent smell and its, cool to the touch, the kind of wetness. And, and he said, it goes so deep when you try to describe something. And it opened my eyes of how hard it is for the other side to, with our limited, we're not dumb, but there's only so much capacity, right? To learn to hold all of this knowledge. And so I was shown it's really difficult to convey these messages without a solid foundation. And so in reading these books or listening to radio shows and podcasts like that, it's you're building that kind of foundation that they can now layer information on, so that you just don't go to the last chapter of the book and have no idea what happened in between to build to that last chapter.
Right.
So those lessons they're amazing, and they have opened my eyes. When I was on the other side, and I've heard other we call them NDEers, or
Yeah.
that talk about the knowledge that's there, that everything's there, that if you have a question, the question's answered right, before you've even finished thinking it. It's telepathy, and it's answered, and you go, oh, that makes sense. Well, what about, oh, that makes sense. So this knowledge is brought in, but then you come back to the body. Well, I was shown trying to come back with a paper cup, just a Dixie cup of this ocean of knowledge, and scooping up what I could into this paper cup. And then that's what I got to bring back with me. So it's taken me a long time to realize that if I examine each droplet of water is the entirety of that ocean of knowledge. And if I look at it and examine it and open up to that single drop by drop by drop, that ocean of knowledge will come to us. It's open for us.
Beautiful, beautiful. That makes so much sense, and that's the way I look at years of reading these books and getting to be with the Ions crew, is that I'm still open for these bits of knowledge that come through, because it's like a remembering.
Yeah,
It really is. The idea that we could easily remember who we really are without all of the sacrifice. I had a friend who's a dear lady, but she lived in a Course in Miracles community for 8 years. In 8 years, all she did was forgiveness work. 8 years. And then these monks that sit on the top of a mountain in Tibet, and they, it's like, I think we're so close to being able to have that same experience, that same knowledge. We're almost at a tipping point. That's part of the beauty of the Ions group, and doing these kind of online events is that you can find all these sages, if you want to say, without having to have the near-death experience yourself. You can actually feel the frequency of what you all have gone through,
Mm.
and experience it, remember it.
Yeah. Well, we hear about that, the veil of forgetfulness that we go through. And it's really necessary because we need to feel separated here. Because on the other side, we're all one. We are all so connected. So we go through this veil, and then we are just kind of lost, just kind of bumping into walls, and having our experiences. But it's necessary. And when you talk about, like the honor of speaking at IONS this year, and the topic is so amazing that I was given this topic of boots on the ground in this army of God, because I woke up one morning, and it's really important that in between sleep and wakefulness, there's this, it's the same as when you're going to sleep, that little bit where you might jump or something.
Yes.
You let go and you're kind of just in between, right? And I heard, "Hello, soldier." One morning I heard, "Hello, soldier." And I laid there and went, "Soldier?" I've never considered myself a soldier, right? So I was kind of like, and I thought, what does that mean? What is the meaning of that? And the answer was giving, boots on the ground where celestial pavement ends.
Oh, beautiful.
Is that awesome? It's not me. It was given from the light. And so I know that's my purpose. I'm honored to be speaking. I'm so thankful that there is an organization like IONS that, I just can't say enough good things about it. I hope that your audience will think about, coming and joining us this year. Or
Yeah.
if not, at least listen to the videos that are posted, join on Facebook and whatnot. And Kathy, your work is, I know we're running out of time, but your work is so important. And I'm really grateful to be on your program today.
Me too. Well, I want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to know how to get a hold of you. I am running a banner at the bottom of the screen. And for those of you that might not be looking at your screen, Claudia, do you want to explain how they can find you? And then I'll talk a little bit about the IONS.
Okay, sure.
Okay.
You can find me at claudiaedge.com. It's probably the easiest. You'll learn a lot about me. I put a bio, and I put stories in all the time. I put all of my podcasts that I've been so grateful for, those opportunities. They're online as well. This interview will be there as well very soon. And I also, because I appreciate other authors and other workers in the light, I put their book, I can't put them all, but I try and switch them out every now and again. So other sources, other places to look for wonderful stories are on there as well. So I'm super proud of my website, claudiaedge.com. And there's a place there where you can contact me. And I'm not what do I want to say? I'm open to conversation or questions. We all have questions. I don't know everything, but I'm sure willing to share, what I've received. I'm willing to share it with you.
That's so perfect. And I want everyone to also, you'll be able to hear Claudia give her presentation at IONS. And that website is coming up here on the banner, and it's virtualconference.ions.org. And I'll put it also in the comment section so that people can go there to experience Claudia and the team, the tribe, because there's so many beautiful souls that are sharing of their experience. in a way that really could be the turning point for you in these times where there isn't much nice things being published. These are good news stories that you could experience it without having to have a near-death experience, but you could feel it and go there. The energy is palpable. It's an energy of love and hope, and that's what's here for us if we want to co-create that together.
Oh, I
We
love that.
don't have to have the old way of fear. We're into a new era, and humanity can wake up to its divinity. And this is a big part of it. So I really hope that people will search out Claudia and go to her website, read her books, listen to all of her stories wherever you can get them, because I imagine between your stories of your experiences and then your dream stories and then having 5 kids. I'm number 4 out of 5. So
There we go. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm hopefully there's some more books in the future. It's like, come on, that going to sleep every night and hope, you know,
well,
there's the light doesn't stop. It's
this is cracking yourself open. That's
there we
what I
go.
want everyone to know, is that if you want to hear the good news, that you're not alone, that you have resources beyond your dreams available to you. You need to listen and go to the IONS conference and follow Claudia and find out what her stories could do to impact your life in such a positive way. This is really uplifting. So thank you, Claudia, again, and such a pleasure to meet you.
This has been so much fun. Thank you, Kathy.
Oh, great. And I'll see you at the event. I'm definitely there. There. I get to do something on Friday night again. I did something last year too with the oh, I don't know. It's like an after party on Friday night.
Oh, fun, yeah. Party on, Garth, right?
Well, that's what this is about, is like there's nothing to be afraid of.
You are accepted within this group, and that's acceptance is important. You know, it's important to feel that connection again. And once you do, it does remind you of the other side. We are connected. So I'm grateful that we're all finding each other.
Yes, me too. Thank you so much.
Take care. Bye, audience.
Bye-bye.